Get on the ground before I put you there permanently. Ghost William's voice thundered through Lumiere as he aimed his assault rifle at the one person still standing. The black waitress remained motionless, her expression unreadable as 30 terrified diners watched from the marble floor. Ghost studies her face for a second, recognition flickering, then his weapon wavers. "That's impossible," he whispers. "Welcome back to Eva's Stories. I have missed you all so much. Thank you for sticking around with me. I truly appreciate your love and support. If you are enjoying this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video and comment where you are watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories. And trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now, let's continue." The crystal chandelier cast warm light across Lumiere's dining room as Nicole Carter balanced 3 plates of duck confit along her left arm. Her movements held military precision disguised as service grace. Black uniform pressed sharp, silver nameplate catching light. She navigated between tables where Boston's elite discussed merger deals over wine that cost more than her monthly rent. "Excuse me, miss." Trevor Manning's voice cut through the dinner conversation at table 12. His pinstriped suit cost more than Nicole made in 6 months, and he knew it. "This wine is completely wrong. I ordered the 2019 Bordeaux, not this swill." Nicole approached with steady steps. She'd served Trevor the exact wine he'd requested, but contradicting wealthy customers meant unemployment. "I apologize, sir. I'll speak with the sommelier immediately." "Don't apologize. Just fix it." Trevor's companion, Vanessa Cross, examined her diamond bracelet with theatrical boredom. Some people simply cannot comprehend quality. The word stung, but Nicole's face remained neutral. 8 years in Navy Special Forces had taught her when to engage and when to endure. This wasn't a battlefield. This was survival. At table 6, Harrison Blake sat alone, laptop closed, watching the interaction unfold. His Navy suit fit perfectly, but he wore it with less arrogance than most Lumiere patrons. Something about Nicole's posture intrigued him. She moved with controlled efficiency, like someone trained for precision under pressure. "Nicole." Danny Reeves, the restaurant manager, appeared beside her. His thin frame radiated nervous energy. "Table 8 needs their appetizers. Move faster." "Yes, sir." Nicole headed toward the kitchen, passing Harrison's table. Their eyes met briefly. His held curiosity. Hers held depths he couldn't read. In the kitchen, Nicole grabbed the plates for table 8. Chef Laurent, a temperamental Frenchman with flour-dusted apron, grabbed her wrist as she reached for garnish. "Careful with the presentation, girl. These people pay good money." Nicole's training kicked in automatically. Her free hand moved toward his wrist, muscle memory from countless combat scenarios. She stopped herself, took a breath. "Of course, chef." Back in the dining room, Harrison observed how other staff treated Nicole differently. They spoke to white servers with respect, but Nicole received orders, corrections, dismissive gestures. He'd never noticed before. The realization sat uncomfortable in his chest. "Miss." A woman at table 4 snapped her fingers. "We've been waiting forever for our check." Nicole had delivered their check 3 minutes ago, but she approached anyway. "I placed it right here, ma'am." She gestured to the black leather folder beside the woman's elbow. "Don't get smart with me. I know when someone brings me a check." Harrison watched Nicole's jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. Her hands remained steady, but something flickered in her eyes. Not submission. Something harder. What did this woman do before waiting tables? The thought surprised him. He'd never wondered about a server's background before. They were part of the restaurant's atmosphere, like the music or lighting. But Nicole felt different. Alert. Coiled. "Nicole, table 12 wants to speak with you." Danny's voice carried across the room. Nicole walked to Trevor's table, where he sat back in his chair like a king holding court. "I want you to understand something," Trevor said, loud enough for surrounding tables to hear. "When I come to an establishment like this, I expect competence. Not whatever this is." He gestured dismissively at her. "Maybe consider whether you're really qualified for this position." The words hit their target. Nicole's composure never cracked, but Harrison saw her fingers curl slightly into fists. For 1 second, her stance shifted. Wider base. Weight forward. Then she caught herself, smoothed her expression. I understand, sir. I'll do better. But Harrison had seen it. That flash of something deadly. Something trained. Vanessa leaned forward with a cold smile. Perhaps you should find work more suited to your background. I'm sure there are other options. The racist implication hung in the air. Several diners turned to watch. Nicole stood perfectly still, but Harrison noticed her breathing had changed. Deeper. Controlled. Like someone managing rage through technique. Of course, ma'am. Enjoy your evening. As Nicole walked away, Harrison made a decision that would change everything. He raised his hand. Miss Carter. Nicole approached his table, surprised he knew her name. Yes, sir. The service tonight has been exceptional. Thank you. It was simple. Basic human decency. But in Lumiere's toxic atmosphere, it felt revolutionary. Nicole's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing genuine surprise. Thank you, sir. Can I get you anything else? Actually, yes. What would you recommend for dessert? Tell me who you really are, his eyes seemed to ask. Before Nicole could answer, the front door exploded inward. 5 men in dark clothing and ski masks burst through, assault weapons raised. Diners screamed, diving under tables. Crystal shattered as chairs toppled. Everyone on the ground. Now! The lead gunman, tall and broad-shouldered, swept his weapon across the room. His voice carried the rough edge of Boston streets. Hands visible. No heroes tonight. Harrison dropped to his knees, but kept his eyes up. In the chaos, he searched for Nicole. She stood frozen in the center of the dining room, the only person still upright besides the gunman. But she wasn't frozen with fear. She was calculating. Harrison watched her eyes track each gunman's position, their weapons, their movement patterns. Her stance had shifted again, subtle but unmistakable. Balanced. Ready. Who are you? The lead gunman stepped closer to Nicole, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. I said get down, waitress. Nicole's response came soft, steady, and in a voice that belonged to someone else entirely. Someone trained to kill. No. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Nicole Carter had just told 5 armed men no, while 30 terrified diners watched from the floor. The lead gunman, Marcus Ghost Williams, tilted his head in disbelief. Did this waitress just tell me no? His voice carried genuine confusion. Nobody defied Ghost Williams, especially not some server in a fancy restaurant. Nicole's training took over completely. Her breathing slowed. Her vision sharpened. Every sound became distinct. Crying from under tables, heavy footsteps from the kitchen, the soft scrape of someone's watch against marble. Most importantly, she tracked 5 heartbeats, 5 breathing patterns, 5 weapons held by men who had no idea what they'd walked into. From his position on the floor, Harrison Blake watched Nicole transform. The subservient waitress vanished, replaced by something predatory. Her posture shifted wider, her weight distributed perfectly. This was not fear. This was focus. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Ghost stepped closer, raising his assault rifle. Get on the ground before I put you there permanently. Nicole turned slowly to face him fully. When their eyes met through his ski mask, something flickered in Ghost's expression. Recognition trying to surface. His voice dropped lower, uncertain. Do I know you? Roxbury. 10 years ago. Nicole's voice carried no emotion, but Ghost went rigid. Jerome Williams' little brother. You used to tag buildings on Walnut Street. That's impossible. Ghost's weapon wavered slightly. That girl joined the military. She's gone. I came back. The revelation hit Ghost like cold water. Nicole Carter, the neighborhood girl who'd disappeared into the Navy, stood in front of him wearing a server's uniform. But her stance told a different story. This was Petty Officer First Class Nicole Carter, Special Warfare Operator, trained in close-quarters combat, weapon systems, and tactical operations that could level city blocks. Harrison processed what he was witnessing. The woman who'd served his coffee possessed military training. Not basic service. Something elite. Something dangerous. Joey Santos, Ghost's cousin, grew impatient. What are you waiting for? Shoot her and let's grab the money. Shut up. Ghost never took his eyes off Nicole. You don't understand who this is. Tank Rodriguez, the muscle of the group, laughed. It's just some waitress, man. Stop being dramatic. Nicole's eyes moved to Tank. 6'4", maybe 260 pounds, holding his weapon like someone who'd never received proper training. She calculated distance, angles, timing. Tank stood 8 feet away. Joey was to her left, 12 feet. Andre Foster, the nervous rookie, crouched by the bar 15 feet away. Slim Jackson, the getaway driver, remained by the door 20 feet back. All of them were focused on Ghost and Nicole's conversation. None of them expected what happened next. Nicole moved. Her first step covered the distance to Tank in less than a second. Her left hand struck his windpipe while her right grabbed his weapon barrel, redirecting it toward the ceiling. Tank's fingers squeezed the trigger reflexively, sending rounds into the chandelier above. Crystal rained down as Nicole used Tank's momentum to drive her knee into his solar plexus. Tank dropped like a stone. Joey spun toward the commotion, bringing his weapon around. Too slow. Nicole had already moved again, using Tank's falling body as cover. She rolled right, came up beside Joey before he could acquire his target. Her elbow connected with his temple with surgical precision. His unconscious body crumpled onto a table of abandoned appetizers. Andre panicked, firing wildly in Nicole's direction. She was already gone, diving behind the marble partition that separated the dining room from the bar. Bullets chipped marble inches from where she'd been standing. "Stop shooting, you idiot!" Ghost yelled. "You'll hit the customers." Nicole used Andre's paws to vault over the bar. She landed behind him, grabbed his weapon with both hands, and twisted. The snap of breaking fingers echoed through the restaurant. Andre screamed and fell to his knees. 15 seconds. 4 men down. Harrison watched in stunned silence. This wasn't random violence. This was surgical precision. Every movement calculated. Every strike targeted to disable, not kill. Nicole Carter was operating on a level that defied comprehension. Slim Jackson at the door reached for his sidearm. Nicole was already moving toward him when Ghost's voice cut through the chaos. "Nick, stop." She froze. Only Ghost knew that nickname. Only people from the old neighborhood called her Nick. Her moment of hesitation gave Slim the opening he needed. His pistol came up, aimed not at Nicole, but at Trevor Manning, who was crawling toward the exit. "One more step and this rich boy dies," Slim called out. Nicole's training warred with her instincts. She could reach Slim before he fired, but not if he was already committed to pulling the trigger. Trevor's life hung in the balance, and despite his earlier cruelty, Nicole couldn't let an innocent person die. "Smart girl," Slim continued. "Now back away from my boys." Nicole raised her hand slowly, stepping back. But Ghost was studying her face, seeing something that made his blood run cold. "Wait," Ghost whispered. "You're not just military. You're special forces." Nicole's silence confirmed it. "How special?" Ghost asked, though he already suspected the answer. "Special enough," Nicole replied quietly. The truth hit Ghost like a physical blow. Navy Special Warfare Command only accepted the elite of the elite. Fewer than 200 active female operators in the entire program. Nicole Carter wasn't just a veteran. She was a weapon designed to eliminate threats like them without breaking a sweat. Harrison began to understand what he was witnessing. The woman who'd endured racist insults without flinching could probably kill everyone in this room with her bare hands. She chose not to. She chose restraint. She chose to protect people who'd treated her like garbage. Vanessa Cross, still huddled under table 12, whispered harshly to Trevor. "Do something. You always said you could handle any situation." Trevor's face had gone pale. The woman he'd humiliated 30 minutes ago had just demonstrated capabilities that belonged in action movies, not real life. Ghost made his decision. This robbery was over. Nick Carter in an enclosed space meant death for anyone who opposed her. His crew was lucky to be breathing. "We're leaving," Ghost announced. "Now." "What about the money?" Joey groaned from the floor, holding his head. "Forget the money." Ghost backed toward the door, weapons still trained on the room but no longer pointed at Nicole. "Some scores aren't worth dying for." Slim kept his gun on Trevor but started moving toward the exit. "This doesn't make sense. It's one girl. That girl could kill all of us before we cleared the doorway," Ghost said flatly. "Move." Nicole watched them retreat, calculating whether to pursue. Her training screamed to neutralize the remaining threats, but civilians filled the room. Stray bullets would find innocent targets. She held position. As the robbers reached the door, Ghost turned back one final time. "Nick, when this gets out, and it will get out, they're going to ask questions about tonight. Be careful who you trust with the answers." The warning carried weight. Nicole understood immediately. Her military record was classified. Her unit's operations were beyond top secret. If the wrong people learned what she was capable of, her quiet life would evaporate. The gunman fled into the Boston night, leaving behind a dining room full of shattered assumptions and a waitress who just redefined everyone's understanding of power. Silence stretched for long seconds. Then movement. People emerging from under tables, checking for injuries, processing what they'd witnessed. Nicole stood in the center of the room, surrounded by unconscious attackers and scattered crystal. Her black uniform was torn at the shoulder. A thin cut on her cheek bled slightly from flying debris. But she remained standing, alert, ready for the next threat. Harrison rose slowly, his eyes never leaving Nicole's face. Everything about her made sense now. The precise movements. The controlled responses to abuse. The way she carried herself like someone accustomed to life and death decisions. "Is everyone all right?" Nicole's voice carried command authority now, not service deference. Murmurs of affirmation came from around the room. No one was seriously injured. The attackers Nicole had disabled were breathing, unconscious but alive. Danny Reeves emerged from behind the host station, his face flushed with anger and fear. "Nicole, what did you think you were doing? You could have gotten someone killed." The accusation hung in the air like poison. Nicole had just saved everyone in the room, and her manager's first response was blame. "She saved our lives," Harrison said quietly, standing up fully. His voice carried the kind of quiet authority that came from boardrooms and corporate wars. "All of our lives." Trevor Manning struggled to his feet, brushing glass from his expensive suit. Instead of gratitude, his face twisted with something uglier. "She's dangerous. Did you see what she did? That's not normal. That's not safe." Vanessa nodded vigorously. "We can't have people like that working here. What if she snaps? What if she decides we're the enemy?" Nicole felt the shift in the room's energy. Fear was replacing gratitude. The same people she'd risked her life to protect were now seeing her as the threat. Of course, she thought. Save their lives, and they'll find a way to make you the villain. "That's enough." Harrison's voice cut through the growing murmur of agreement with Trevor's assessment. This woman just prevented a robbery and potentially saved lives. Anyone suggesting otherwise needs to reconsider their perspective. But the damage was spreading. Other diners whispered among themselves, shooting nervous glances at Nicole. The woman who'd been invisible 30 minutes ago was now the most visible person in the room, and not in a good way. Danny pulled out his phone, dialing rapidly. "I'm calling the police. And Nicole, we need to talk. Privately." Nicole understood. Her employment at Lumiere was over. Saving their lives had cost her the job she needed to survive. 20 seconds, she thought. 20 seconds to go from hero to liability. But as she looked around the room, one face stood out. Harrison Blake watched her with something she rarely saw directed at her. Respect. Not fear. Not suspicion. Respect. For the first time since the robbery began, Nicole allowed herself a small smile. Maybe 20 seconds was worth it after all. Boston police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer by the second. Nicole Carter stood among the unconscious robbers, watching the room's energy shift like a tide turning against her. What started as shocked gratitude was curdling into something darker. Everyone step away from her. Trevor Manning's voice carried new authority, the kind rich men used when they decided someone else was the problem. We don't know what else she's capable of. Detective Patricia Kelly burst through Lumiere's entrance with 4 uniformed officers, weapons drawn. 28 years on the force had taught her to read a scene quickly. 4 unconscious suspects, scared civilians, and 1 black woman standing calmly in the center of it all. Hands visible, everyone. Detective Kelly's voice carried no-nonsense authority as she surveyed the damage. Broken glass, overturned tables, and assault rifles scattered on the marble floor. Who can tell me what happened here? Trevor stepped forward immediately. That woman attacked the robbers. Violently. We're lucky she didn't kill someone. Nicole's jaw tightened. Attacked. Not defended. Not saved. Attacked. Ma'am. Detective Kelly approached Nicole with cautious respect. Something about the woman's posture set off Kelly's instincts. Military bearing. Controlled breathing. This wasn't a civilian who'd panicked and gotten lucky. Can you tell me your name? Nicole Carter. I work here. And can you tell me what happened? Before Nicole could answer, Vanessa Cross interjected loudly. She went crazy. The robbers came in, and instead of following orders like the rest of us, she started attacking them. It was terrifying. Terrifying for who? Harrison Blake stood up, his voice cutting through the growing murmur of agreement. The robbers who were pointing guns at everyone, or the woman who stopped them. Danny Reeves rushed over, sweat beading on his forehead. Detective, I need to clarify something important. Nicole Carter is no longer employed by this establishment. Her actions tonight were not sanctioned by Lumiere management. Nicole felt the ground shifting beneath her feet. Not only was she being blamed for saving lives, she was officially unemployed. Danny was protecting the restaurant from liability by cutting her loose before the investigation even began. Mr. Reeves, Detective Kelly said slowly, are you firing an employee who stopped an armed robbery? I'm protecting our customers and staff from someone who clearly has violent tendencies we were unaware of, Danny replied, his voice gaining confidence. We conduct thorough background checks, but obviously something slipped through. What slipped through? Nicole's voice remained steady, but Harrison caught the edge beneath it. 8 years of honorable military service? A clean criminal record? Or the fact that I'm actually qualified to handle dangerous situations? Qualified. Dr. Amanda Foster, an elegant woman in her 60s, spoke from table 9. Young lady, qualification would involve calling the police and following proper procedures. What you did was vigilante violence. The word vigilante spread through the room like wildfire. Nicole watched faces she'd served for months transform with suspicion and fear. These people had seen her take down armed men with lethal efficiency. That capability terrified them more than the robbery itself. Officer Rodriguez approached the unconscious robbers, checking vitals. They're all breathing. Looks like precise strikes to disable, not kill. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. That's what worries us, Trevor said, loud enough for everyone to hear. She knew exactly how to hurt people. What kind of waitress has those skills? The kind who served her country, Harrison said firmly. The kind who put her life on the line to protect others, both overseas and apparently right here. Vanessa laughed bitterly. Please. She's a waitress from the projects who got violent. Don't romanticize it. The racist undertone wasn't lost on anyone, including Detective Kelly, whose expression hardened. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step back and let me conduct this investigation properly. Nicole felt the familiar weight of judgment settling on her shoulders. She'd experienced this before in the military when her capabilities exceeded expectations. People preferred their heroes to look different. When a young black woman demonstrated lethal skills, it became threatening rather than heroic. Detective Kelly, Nicole said quietly. "I'd like to give my statement now." "Of course. Let's step over here." Kelly guided Nicole toward a quieter corner, away from the growing crowd of onlookers. "Can you walk me through exactly what happened?" Nicole recounted the events with military precision. 5 suspects entered. She assessed the threat. She neutralized 4 of them when they posed imminent danger to civilians. She allowed the 5th to escape to prevent civilian casualties. "And your background?" Kelly asked, though she was already forming suspicions. "Navy. 8 years. Special Warfare Command." Kelly's eyebrows rose. Special warfare meant SEAL teams, special boat units, and other elite programs most people never heard of. "What was your rate?" "Petty Officer First Class. Special Warfare Operator." The confirmation hit Kelly like cold water. Nicole Carter wasn't just military. She was elite special forces. The kind of operator who could infiltrate enemy compounds, eliminate high-value targets, and disappear without a trace. What was someone with those qualifications doing waiting tables? "Why didn't you pursue suspects when they fled?" Kelly asked. "Too many civilians in the line of fire. My priority was minimizing casualties, not apprehending suspects." It was the right answer. The professional answer. But Kelly caught something else in Nicole's tone. Restraint. This woman had chosen not to pursue because she could have caught them. Probably could have stopped all 5 if civilian safety wasn't a factor. Across the room, Trevor was holding court with other diners, his voice carrying clearly. "I'm telling you, someone that dangerous shouldn't be working around normal people. What if she decided we were the threat? What if she'd snapped?" "She saved your life," Harrison said, his patience finally wearing thin. 20 minutes ago, you had a gun pointed at your head. Now you're complaining about the person who prevented you from being shot." "I didn't ask her to save me," Trevor snapped back. "I didn't consent to being part of some military operation disguised as waitressing." The absurdity of the statement hung in the air. Trevor Manning, hedge fund king worth $200 million, was angry about being saved from armed robbers because he hadn't given permission first. Dr. Foster nodded in agreement. There are proper channels for these situations. Police. Security. Trained professionals. "She is a trained professional," Harrison said, his voice rising with frustration. "More trained than anyone in this room, apparently." Danny saw the argument escalating and made his move. "Nicole, I need you to gather your things and leave the premises. Your final paycheck will be mailed to your address." The dismissal was swift and brutal. No severance. No consideration for her 8 months of exemplary service. No acknowledgement that she'd prevented what could have been a massacre. "You're firing her for saving lives?" Harrison's voice carried dangerous quiet. "I'm protecting my business and my customers," Danny replied. "Tonight proved Nicole Carter poses a risk we cannot accept." Nicole felt something break inside her chest. Not surprise. She'd expected this. But the systematic destruction of her character by people she'd risked everything to protect still cut deep. Detective Kelly approached the group, having overheard the firing. "Mr. Reeves, I strongly advise against making personnel decisions during an active investigation. Ms. Carter's actions may have prevented multiple homicides tonight." "My decision is final," Danny said. "Lumiere Restaurant cannot employ someone with her obvious capacity for violence." "Capacity for violence?" Kelly's voice sharpened. "She's a decorated veteran who used minimal force to neutralize an active threat. That's exactly the kind of person you'd want protecting your customers." But the damage was spreading beyond Danny's decision. Other diners were pulling out phones, some recording video, others making calls. Nicole realized with growing dread that this story would be public within hours. Her quiet, anonymous life was about to explode across social media. "I want her arrested," Vanessa announced suddenly. "She assaulted those men. I want to press charges." "Ma'am," Detective Kelly said with strained patience, "she stopped an armed robbery in progress. That's legally justified use of force." "I don't care about legal justification. I care about feeling safe. That woman is dangerous. The crowd was turning into a mob. Nicole watched it happen with the detached observation of someone who'd seen mob mentality in war zones. Fear made people stupid. Fear made them cruel. Harrison stepped closer to Nicole, positioning himself between her and the growing hostility. Detective, can Ms. Carter leave? She's clearly not welcome here anymore. Kelly nodded. We have your contact information, Ms. Carter. We'll be in touch if we need additional statements. Nicole walked toward the kitchen to collect her purse and jacket, passing tables where she'd served meals hundreds of times. Conversations stopped as she approached. Eyes followed her movement like she was a dangerous animal they needed to monitor. In the employee area, she grabbed her worn leather jacket and small purse. 8 months of her life reduced to 2 items that fit in her hands. When she returned to the dining room, Harrison was waiting by the door. Ms. Carter, could I speak with you outside? Trevor scoffed. Be careful, Blake. You don't know what you're dealing with. Harrison's response was cold enough to freeze blood. I know exactly what I'm dealing with. The question is whether you do. Outside Lumiere, Boston's November air bit through Nicole's jacket. Police cars lined the street, their red and blue lights painting the scene in dramatic colors. News vans were already arriving, drawn by police scanners and social media posts. Are you all right? Harrison asked. Nicole almost laughed. I just lost my job for saving people's lives. I'm fantastic. That's not what I asked. She looked at him more carefully. Harrison Blake, billionaire tech mogul, was asking about her emotional state after being publicly humiliated and fired. Most wealthy people would be congratulating themselves on their narrow escape and moving on with their lives. Why do you care? She asked. Because what happened in there was wrong. Completely wrong. Nicole studied his face in the streetlight. Genuine concern. No hidden agenda she could detect. Mr. Blake, I appreciate the sentiment, but this is how things work for people like me. I've seen it before. People like you. Black women who don't stay in their assigned boxes. The truth hung between them like a challenge. Harrison could walk away now, return to his privileged life, and forget this ever happened. Or he could acknowledge what they both knew. Nicole Carter had been punished for being exceptional while black and female. What if I told you it doesn't have to work that way? Harrison said quietly. I'd say you're an optimist. I'd say I'm a businessman who recognizes talent when I see it. Before Nicole could respond, Detective Kelly approached them. Ms. Carter, one more thing. That suspect who knew you from the neighborhood. Marcus Williams. We've got his sheet here. Armed robbery, assault, drug distribution. You sure you don't know where he might go? Nicole's mind raced. She did know where Ghost would go. The old apartment complex on Walnut Street. His grandmother's place that he still used as a safe house. But giving up that information meant revealing more about her past than she was ready to share. I haven't lived in Roxbury for 8 years, detective. People move on. It was technically true but deliberately incomplete. Kelly studied her face, clearly sensing there was more to the story. If you think of anything that might help us locate him, please call. Kelly handed her a business card. And Ms. Carter? What you did tonight was brave. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. As Kelly walked away, Harrison turned back to Nicole. She's right, you know. What you did was extraordinary. What I did was stupid, Nicole replied. I revealed myself to a room full of people who would rather see me as a threat than a protector. Now my life is about to become very complicated. Maybe complicated isn't always bad. Nicole looked at him sharply. Easy for you to say. Your complicated involves stock prices and board meetings. My complicated involves people like Trevor Manning trying to destroy my reputation because I made them feel small. What if you didn't have to worry about people like Trevor Manning? What are you suggesting? Harrison pulled out his business card. I'm suggesting that maybe your talents are being wasted in the service industry. I'm suggesting that someone with your skills deserves better than this. Nicole took the card but didn't look at it. Mr. Blake, I appreciate whatever this is, but charity isn't something I accept. Good. Because charity isn't what I'm offering. She looked at the card then. Harrison Blake, CEO, Blake Industries. One of Boston's largest tech companies. The kind of place that employed thousands of people and made decisions that shaped the economy. I'll think about it, she said finally. That's all I ask. As Harrison walked toward his waiting car, Nicole stood alone on the sidewalk watching her former workplace through the windows. Police processed the scene. Diners gave statements. Danny cleaned up the mess her heroism had created. Tomorrow, the story would break across the internet. Violent waitress attacks restaurant customers, or some variation. Her face would be plastered across social media. Her quiet life was over. But maybe Harrison Blake was right. Maybe complicated wasn't always bad. Maybe it was time to stop hiding who she really was. Nicole Carter sat in the waiting area of Blake Industries headquarters, her stomach churning with uncertainty. The 30-story glass tower in Boston's financial district represented everything she'd never aspired to. Corporate success. Executive power. The kind of world where people like Trevor Manning thrived. She'd called Harrison's office at 9 that morning, expecting to leave a voicemail. Instead, his assistant had scheduled an immediate meeting. Now she sat surrounded by leather furniture that cost more than her monthly rent, questioning every decision that led to this moment. The elevator doors opened, and Harrison Blake stepped out, but not alone. A stern-faced woman in a navy pantsuit accompanied him. Late 50s, silver hair pulled back severely, eyes that missed nothing. Nicole's military training recognized the type immediately. Security professional. Ms. Carter. Harrison approached with a genuine smile. Thank you for coming. I'd like you to meet Catherine Walsh, my head of security. Catherine extended her hand with professional courtesy. Ms. Carter. I've been reading about last night's events. Impressive work. Nicole shook her hand cautiously. Thank you. Catherine is retiring next month, Harrison continued. 30 years with the Boston Police Department, the last 8 with my company. We're going to miss her expertise. The implication hung in the air. Nicole wasn't just here for a pep talk. This was a job interview. Mr. Blake, before we go any further, you need to understand something. Nicole kept her voice steady. I'm not looking for charity or sympathy employment. If you're offering me a position because you feel sorry for what happened last night, I'm not interested. Harrison's smile widened. Good. Because charity employees don't usually come with your qualifications. Catherine pulled out a tablet, scrolling through what appeared to be a detailed file. Nicole Carter. 8 years Navy Special Warfare Command. Deployed to Afghanistan, Iraq, and Somalia. Specialized in close protection, threat assessment, and tactical operations. Honorable discharge with commendations for valor and leadership. Nicole's blood went cold. Where did you get that information? Public records, Catherine replied calmly. What's not public is why someone with your background was waiting tables instead of working in private security. That's personal. Fair enough. But if you're going to protect Mr. Blake, I need to know you're not running from something that could compromise his safety. Nicole looked between them, realizing this conversation was moving faster than she'd expected. I haven't agreed to anything yet. Of course not, Harrison said. Why don't we talk in my office? Catherine, could you give us some privacy? Catherine nodded and returned to the elevator, leaving them alone in the lobby. Harrison gestured toward a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston Harbor. Wait. Nicole caught herself. No floor-to-ceiling windows. That was on the forbidden list. The conference room had large windows overlooking Boston Harbor. Comfortable chairs surrounded a polished table. Harrison closed the door and took a seat across from her. Coffee. Water. I'm fine. Mr. Blake, why are you really doing this? Harrison leaned back, studying her face. Do you want the diplomatic answer or the honest one? Honest. Because what I saw last night changed my perspective on a lot of things. I watched a woman with extraordinary capabilities get punished for using them to save lives. I watched people I consider colleagues reveal themselves to be small-minded and cruel, and I realized I've been complicit in that system by staying silent. Nicole processed his words carefully. So this is about your conscience? Partly. But it's also about recognizing talent. Catherine is retiring whether I find a replacement or not. I need someone with her skills, and frankly, your qualifications exceed hers. You don't know anything about me beyond last night. Harrison pulled out his phone and opened a news app. The headline made Nicole's stomach drop. Violent waitress attacks restaurant customers during robbery. This is what they're saying about you, Harrison said quietly. Complete distortion of what actually happened. But the video tells a different story. He swiped to a video clip. Security footage from Lumiere showed the entire robbery sequence. Nicole's surgical precision in neutralizing threats. Her restraint in not pursuing the fleeing suspects. Her immediate concern for civilian safety. The restaurant released this? Nicole asked. No. Someone leaked it to a blogger who specializes in exposing media bias. It's going viral, but not the way Trevor and his friends expected. Nicole watched herself on the screen, seeing the incident from an outsider's perspective. Her movements looked even more precise than she remembered. Professional. Controlled. Heroic. The comments are interesting, Harrison continued. Military veterans recognizing your training. Security professionals praising your restraint. Normal people asking why you were fired for saving lives. And the negative comments? Mostly from people who've never been in a life-threatening situation, criticizing decisions they can't comprehend. Nicole set the phone down. The video changed nothing about her current situation. She was still unemployed, still facing potential backlash, still caught between her desire for anonymity and the reality of unwanted attention. Mr. Blake, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I'm not executive material. I don't have an MBA or corporate experience. I wait tables and neutralize threats. Those aren't transferable skills in your world. Aren't they? Harrison leaned forward. Do you know how many death threats I receive annually? How many corporate rivals would benefit from my disappearance? How many unstable individuals fixate on successful people they've never met? Nicole hadn't considered that aspect. In her mind, billionaires lived in secure bubbles, insulated from real danger. But Harrison was describing a different reality. Catherine handles all of that. Background checks on employees. Threat assessment for public appearances. Security planning for travel. Personal protection when necessary. Harrison paused. Last month, someone tried to poison me at a charity gala. Tried. Catherine caught it. Suspicious behavior from a server, inconsistent story about his employment, nervous mannerisms. She pulled me away before I consumed anything. Turned out the man had a severe gambling debt and accepted $50,000 to spike my drink with something that would cause a fatal heart attack. The story hit Nicole like cold water. She'd been thinking about corporate security in abstract terms, but Harrison faced genuine assassination attempts. Why are you telling me this? Because I need someone who can do what Catherine does, but with your additional capabilities. Someone who can spot threats she might miss. Someone who can respond to violence with controlled force when necessary. Nicole stood up, walking to the windows. Boston stretched out below them, bustling with Saturday morning activity. Normal people living normal lives without armed enemies or assassination attempts. You're asking me to step into a target, she said finally. I'm asking you to do what you're already trained for, but with better pay and benefits. How much better? Harrison slid a folded paper across the table. Nicole returned to her seat and opened it. The salary figure made her dizzy. More money than she'd made in her entire military career. More than she'd ever imagined earning. This includes health insurance, dental, vision, retirement matching, and a signing bonus, Harrison said. Plus overtime for travel and hazard pay for active threat situations. Nicole stared at the numbers. Financial security she'd never experienced. The ability to move out of her cramped Roxbury apartment, maybe even buy a house. Independence from the service industry's arbitrary cruelty. There's a catch, she said. There's always a catch. The catch is that your life won't be private anymore. Working for me means public scrutiny, media attention, background investigations by people who want to find weaknesses they can exploit. Nicole thought about the video already circulating online. Her privacy was already compromised. At least this way, she'd be compensated for the loss. What exactly would my responsibilities include? Personal protection during public appearances. Threat assessment for business meetings. Security planning for travel. Background verification for household staff and close associates. Investigation of suspicious activities or communications. Investigation. Corporate espionage is real. Competitors plant spies in companies to steal information or sabotage operations. I need someone who can identify and neutralize those threats. Nicole realized Harrison was describing exactly the kind of work she'd done in the military, adapted for civilian corporate warfare. Instead of protecting military assets from foreign enemies, she'd be protecting business assets from corporate rivals. Can I ask you something personal? Nicole said. Of course. Why haven't you been married? 45 years old, successful, reasonably attractive. What's the story? Harrison laughed, surprised by the direct question. 3 reasons. First, my schedule makes relationships difficult. Second, most women in my social circle are more interested in my net worth than my personality. Third, I've never met anyone who could handle the reality of my life. What reality? Death threats, security protocols, bulletproof cars, armed escorts, background checks on everyone I interact with. Most people find that level of caution exhausting. Nicole understood. Military life had prepared her for those realities, but civilian dating had been impossible. How do you explain to someone that you're trained to kill with your bare hands? How do you maintain normal relationships when you're constantly assessing threats? One more question, Nicole said. What happened to your previous head of security? Before Catherine. Harrison's expression darkened slightly. He was compromised. Accepted money from a competitor to provide information about my schedule and security protocols. Catherine discovered the betrayal before any serious damage occurred, but it taught me the importance of hiring people with unshakable integrity. How do you know I have unshakable integrity? Because you had 4 unconscious attackers at your feet last night and chose not to kill them. Because you allowed the 5th to escape rather than risk civilian casualties. Because you've been living below your capabilities for 8 years rather than exploit your skills for personal gain. Nicole felt something shift inside her chest. Harrison Blake saw her heroism where others saw violence. He recognized her restraint where others saw aggression. He understood her sacrifice where others saw failure. When would you need an answer? Catherine's last day is December 15th. I'd prefer to have overlap for training and transition, so ideally within the next week. Nicole looked out at Boston Harbor, thinking about the apartment she could afford with this salary, the independence it would provide, the chance to use her skills for protection instead of hiding them in shame. But mostly, she thought about Harrison Blake's words, unshakable integrity. Someone finally saw her for who she really was. I'll need to think about it, she said. Of course. Take whatever time you need. As they stood to leave, Harrison's phone buzzed with an incoming call. He glanced at the screen and frowned. Excuse me, I need to take this. He answered with professional courtesy. Blake Industries. Harrison speaking. Nicole watched his expression change as he listened to the caller. Concern replaced casual friendliness. His posture shifted, becoming more alert. When did this happen? Harrison asked. How many people know? A pause. No, don't involve law enforcement yet. I'll handle it internally. He ended the call and turned to Nicole with troubled eyes. What's wrong? She asked. Someone broke into my home office last night. Nothing was stolen, but files were accessed. Personal files. Financial records. Security protocols. Nicole's training kicked in immediately. During the restaurant robbery, the timeline matches perfectly. While I was at Lumiere, someone was in my house going through confidential documents. The implication hit them both simultaneously. The robbery wasn't random. It was cover for something larger. Someone had used the chaos at the restaurant to mask a more sophisticated operation. "Mr. Blake," Nicole said quietly, "I think you need more than a new head of security. I think you need someone to figure out who's targeting you and why." Harrison looked at her with new urgency. "Does this change your answer about the job?" Nicole thought about Ghost's warning the night before. Be careful who you trust with the answers. Someone was playing a longer game than a simple restaurant robbery. Someone who knew Harrison would be at Lumiere that night. Someone with access to his personal schedule and security arrangements. "No," she said finally. "But it changes my timeline. If someone's actively targeting you, we need to move faster." "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting you're in immediate danger, and waiting a week for me to decide might be a week too long." Harrison studied her face, seeing the shift from job candidate to protective operator. "Are you saying yes?" Nicole looked out at Boston Harbor one more time, then back at Harrison Blake. A man who'd shown her respect when others showed fear. A man who needed protection she was uniquely qualified to provide. A man whose life might depend on her decision. "I'm saying yes." Harrison Blake's Beacon Hill mansion stood like a fortress among Boston's historic brownstones, but Nicole Carter could see the vulnerabilities immediately. Too many windows. Multiple entry points. Neighbors close enough to observe, but far enough to avoid involvement. For someone with her training, the house was a security nightmare. The alarm system was disabled from the inside, Catherine Walsh explained as they walked through the front entrance. Whoever did this had the access codes. Nicole studied the sophisticated security panel near the door. Military-grade encryption, biometric scanners, motion sensors throughout the house. Disabling it required either advanced technical skills or inside knowledge. "How many people have those codes?" Nicole asked. 12, Harrison replied. "Myself, Catherine, my housekeeper Maria Santos, my personal assistant Jennifer Kim, my driver Robert Chen, my accountant Frank Morrison, my lawyer Patricia Sullivan, my chef Antoine Dubois, my gardener Carlos Ruiz, and 3 emergency contacts." "That's 11. You're the 12th. Catherine programmed your access this morning." Nicole felt a chill. Whoever planned this operation knew Harrison would hire her. They'd anticipated his response to the restaurant incident and planned accordingly. Catherine led them upstairs to Harrison's home office. The room appeared untouched at first glance. Expensive furniture in perfect position. Computer equipment undisturbed. But Nicole noticed subtle signs. Microscopic scratches around filing cabinet locks, barely visible fingerprint smudges on surfaces that should have been clean, documents slightly out of alignment. "Professional work," Nicole murmured, running her finger along a filing cabinet edge. "Government-trained or equivalent." "You can tell that from scratches?" Harrison asked. "Lockpicking leaves specific marks. This wasn't forced entry or amateur hour. Someone spent time here, probably several hours, going through everything systematically." Catherine pulled out her tablet, showing them the security log. The system was disabled at 8:52 p.m. last night. Reactivated at 11:47 p.m. Almost 3 hours of access. "Right when the robbery started," Harrison said grimly. "Too convenient to be coincidence." Nicole walked to Harrison's desk, studying the arrangement of papers and electronics. What files are kept here? What would someone be looking for? Financial records, business contracts, personal correspondence, security protocols. Harrison paused, realizing the implications. If they accessed security protocols, they know everything about my protection arrangements. "Which means they know exactly how to kill you," Nicole said bluntly. Catherine's phone rang. She answered with professional efficiency. "Walsh. When? Are you certain?" Her expression darkened as she listened. "Keep him isolated until we arrive. No one else gets access." She ended the call and turned to them with grim news. That was Detective Kelly. They caught one of the restaurant robbers. Marcus Williams. He's asking to speak with Nicole specifically. Nicole's blood went cold. Ghost wanted to talk, which meant he had information he couldn't share with police. Information that might explain the connection between the robbery and the break-in. "I'm coming with you," Harrison said. "Absolutely not." Nicole's response was immediate. "Police stations aren't secure environments for someone being actively targeted. You stay here with Catherine while I handle this." "Nicole's right," Catherine agreed. "If someone's coordinating attacks against you, splitting your protection detail is exactly what they want." Harrison looked frustrated but nodded. "Fine. But I want to know everything Ghost tells you." "You will," Nicole promised. Boston Police Headquarters buzzed with Saturday afternoon activity. Detective Kelly met Nicole at the entrance, her expression mixing professional courtesy with personal concern. "Ms. Carter, thanks for coming. Williams has been asking for you since we brought him in. Claims he has information about a larger conspiracy but will only talk to you." "Where did you find him?" "His grandmother's apartment in Roxbury." "Exactly where you said he wouldn't be," Kelly said with a knowing look. "Want to tell me how you really knew Marcus Williams?" Nicole had been dreading this question. "We grew up in the same neighborhood. I knew his family. His grandmother says you saved his life once. Pulled him out of a gang initiation that went wrong. Says you were the reason he didn't end up dead or in prison before he turned 18. The memory hit Nicole like a physical blow. Jerome Williams, Ghost's older brother, bleeding out in an alley behind Franklin Park. 15-year-old Ghost standing over him, frozen with shock. 17-year-old Nicole Carter applying field dressings she'd learned from military recruitment videos, keeping Jerome alive until paramedics arrived. "That was a long time ago," Nicole said quietly. "Long enough for Marcus to remember. Long enough for him to recognize you last night and call off the robbery before anyone got seriously hurt." Detective Kelly led her through security checkpoints to the interview rooms. Ghost sat at a metal table, his hands cuffed to a chain around his waist. Without the ski mask, Nicole could see how much he'd aged. Deep lines around his eyes. Scars on his knuckles. The hard edge of someone who'd survived by violence. "Nick." Ghost's voice carried relief when she entered. "Thank God you came." Nicole took the seat across from him, maintaining professional distance. "Detective Kelly says you have information." Not with her listening. Ghost's eyes flicked to Kelly, who stood by the door. "This is between us. Anything you tell me, I'm sharing with the police. If you're expecting street loyalty, you're talking to the wrong person." Ghost studied her face, seeing the military officer she'd become rather than the neighborhood girl he remembered. "Fair enough. But what I'm about to tell you is going to put you in serious danger." "I'm listening." "The robbery wasn't my idea. Someone hired us. Someone with serious money and serious connections." Ghost leaned forward as much as his restraints allowed. "They knew your boss would be at that restaurant. They knew exactly when and where he'd be sitting." Nicole's heart rate accelerated. "Who hired you?" "Never met them directly. Everything went through an intermediary. But the money was real, and the information was accurate." Ghost paused, wrestling with what to reveal. "Nick, they didn't just want us to rob the place. They wanted us to kill someone specific." "Harrison Blake." "Yeah, the tech billionaire. $5 million to make it look like a robbery gone wrong." The number hit Nicole like ice water. $5 million meant serious money behind the contract. Government money. Corporate money. The kind of resources that could coordinate sophisticated operations. "Why didn't you go through with it?" Ghost's expression softened slightly. "Because you were there. Because I remembered what you did for Jerome. Because killing someone in front of you felt like betraying everything you'd done for my family." Nicole processed the information rapidly. The robbery was an assassination attempt disguised as random crime. Harrison's house was burglarized simultaneously to access his security protocols. Someone was planning a comprehensive attack using multiple vectors. Who was the intermediary? Guy named Danny Reeves. Managed some fancy restaurant. Nicole's blood froze. Danny Reeves, the manager who'd fired her, was the connection between the assassination attempt and the burglary. He'd provided inside information about Harrison's dinner reservation and coordinated the timing of both operations. Ghost, this is important. Did Danny mention anyone else? Any names, locations, anything that might help us identify who's really behind this? He talked about some hedge fund guy. Trevor something. Said the contract came from people with serious political connections. Ghost leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Nick, these aren't street criminals. These are rich people playing games with other people's lives. Trevor Manning, the man who'd humiliated Nicole at dinner, was part of a conspiracy to murder Harrison Blake. The pieces were falling into place with terrifying clarity. Did they know about my military background? Danny seemed surprised when you took down my crew. But the people behind him, they might have known. The whole thing felt planned around your presence. Nicole realized with growing horror that her employment at Lumiere might not have been coincidental. Someone could have orchestrated her placement there, knowing she'd be present during the assassination attempt. But why? To eliminate a witness? To frame her for the murder? One more question, Nicole said. Why are you telling me this? You could have kept quiet, taken a plea deal, served your time. Ghost's expression turned serious. Because Jerome died last month. Cancer. And before he died, he made me promise to look out for you if you ever needed help. His voice cracked slightly. You saved his life once, Nick. He never forgot that. Neither did I. The news hit Nicole like a physical blow. Jerome Williams, the boy she'd saved in that alley, was dead. The brother who'd motivated Ghost's protection of her was gone. I'm sorry, she said quietly. He was proud of you, you know. Joining the military. Serving your country. Making something of yourself instead of staying in the neighborhood and dying young like most of us. Nicole felt tears threatening but maintained her composure. Ghost, I need you to make a statement to Detective Kelly. Everything you just told me. The assassination contract, Danny's involvement, Trevor Manning's connection. All of it. What about my charges? I'll speak to the prosecutor. Cooperation in a conspiracy case this size might help your situation. Ghost nodded slowly. Will you do something for me? What? Be careful. These people killed Jerome to keep him quiet about something he witnessed. They'll kill you too if they think you're a threat. Nicole's blood went cold. What did Jerome witness? A meeting. 6 months ago. Trevor Manning, Danny Reeves, and some woman in expensive clothes. They were discussing your boss like he was already dead. Ghost's eyes held deadly seriousness. Jerome was delivering food to the hotel where they met. He heard them talking about making it look accidental. What hotel? The Fairmont Copley Plaza. Presidential suite. Nicole had enough information to break the conspiracy wide open, but she also understood the danger. These people had been planning Harrison's murder for months. They'd placed assets in his environment. They'd compromised his security. And now they knew she was his new protector. Ghost, I need one more favor. If anyone asks, you don't know anything about Harrison Blake hiring me for security. As far as anyone knows, I'm just an unemployed waitress. Why? Because if they know I'm protecting him, they'll change their plan. And I need them to make their next move so I can stop them permanently. Ghost smiled for the first time since she'd arrived. There's the Nick I remember. Always thinking 3 moves ahead. Nicole stood to leave, but Ghost called her name one more time. Nick. These people aren't like the enemies you fought overseas. They look like good people. They smile at you while they plan your death. Don't trust anyone. I won't. As Nicole left the interview room, Detective Kelly was waiting with questions. What did he tell you? Everything, Nicole replied. And we need to move fast. This conspiracy goes deeper than we thought. Nicole pulled out her phone and dialed Harrison's number. He answered on the first ring. Nicole, what did you learn? We need to talk. In person. And Harrison. Yeah. Pack a bag. You're not safe in that house anymore. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but Nicole realized they were racing against time. The conspiracy had been months in the planning. Harrison's enemies were close to making their final move, and she was the only thing standing between them and success. The safe house Catherine Walsh had arranged sat in a quiet Brookline neighborhood, unremarkable among rows of suburban homes. Nicole Carter checked the perimeter for the third time in an hour while Harrison Blake paced the living room, frustrated by his sudden confinement. "This is ridiculous," Harrison said, looking out through closed blinds. "I have a company to run. Board meetings. Investors who expect access." "You have enemies who expect you dead," Nicole replied, completing her circuit of the house's security points. "Which priority matters more?" Catherine emerged from the kitchen, having finished her sweep for surveillance devices. "The house is clean. No bugs, no cameras, no tracking equipment. We should be secure here for now." Nicole nodded, but remained alert. 3 hours had passed since Ghost's revelation about the assassination plot, and she expected the conspirators to escalate their timeline now that one of their operatives was in custody. "Nicole, I need to understand something," Harrison said, settling into an armchair. "Ghost Williams risked life in prison to warn you about this conspiracy. That level of loyalty doesn't come from childhood acquaintance." Nicole had been dreading this conversation. Her past in Roxbury represented everything she'd tried to leave behind. But Harrison deserved the truth, especially since his life depended on trusting her completely. "When I was 17, I found Jerome Williams bleeding in an alley. Rival gang had shot him during a territorial dispute." Nicole sat across from Harrison, her voice steady but distant. "I'd been studying military medical training, preparing for enlistment. I used what I'd learned to keep Jerome alive until paramedics arrived. That's why Ghost protected you last night. Jerome became like a brother to me after that. When I left for the Navy, he promised to watch out for my family. When his cancer got bad last month, he made Ghost promise to return the favor." Catherine looked up from her laptop. "Jerome Williams died of cancer 6 weeks ago. The timing coincides with when Ghost says the conspiracy started planning Harrison's assassination." Nicole felt pieces clicking into place. Jerome must have witnessed something. Ghost said he saw Trevor, Danny, and a woman meeting at the Fairmont. If Jerome was delivering food there, he could have overheard details about the murder plot, Harrison finished. "And they killed him to ensure his silence." "Cancer doesn't work that fast," Catherine said grimly. "If someone wanted Jerome dead quietly, poisoning him with something that mimicked aggressive cancer would be perfect. Untraceable. No autopsy." The realization hit Nicole like ice water. Jerome hadn't died of natural causes. He'd been murdered to protect the conspiracy, and his death had motivated Ghost's protection of her during the robbery. "We need to prove that," Nicole said. "If we can establish that Jerome was murdered, it connects directly to the assassination plot." Harrison's phone buzzed with an incoming call. He glanced at the screen and frowned. "It's my assistant, Jennifer. She's been trying to reach me all afternoon." "Don't answer," Nicole said immediately. "Anyone calling you repeatedly while you're supposed to be unreachable could be checking your status for the conspirators. Jennifer's worked for me for 3 years. She's not part of this." "How do you know?" Catherine asked. "Someone provided your dinner schedule to the conspirators. Someone with access to your personal calendar and security protocols." Harrison stared at his phone as it continued ringing. The idea that Jennifer Kim, who organized his life and handled his most confidential communications, could be a traitor was almost incomprehensible. "We need to test her," Nicole said. "Set up a controlled situation where we can observe her response to information." "What kind of test?" Nicole thought quickly. "Call her back. Tell her you're staying late at the office tonight, working on the Morrison acquisition. Give her a specific time and location. If the conspirators move against that location, we'll know she's compromised." Harrison hesitated. "And if she's innocent? I'll be putting her under suspicion for no reason." "If she's innocent, nothing happens and we eliminate her as a suspect," Catherine said. If she's guilty, we expose a traitor and gather evidence. Nicole watched Harrison wrestle with the decision. Trust came hard to people who'd been betrayed before, but survival sometimes required difficult choices. Make the call, Harrison said finally. But we do this right. No assumptions, no premature conclusions. Harrison dialed Jennifer's number. She answered immediately, her voice carrying relief and concern. Mr. Blake, I've been so worried. I heard about the incident at Lumiere. Are you all right? I'm fine, Jennifer. Sorry for not calling back sooner. I've been dealing with some security issues. Of course. What can I do to help? I need you to clear my schedule for tonight. I'm going back to the office to work on the Morrison files. Probably be there until midnight. The office. Sir, is that safe? After what happened last night? I'll have security with me. Can you make sure the building is open and the files are ready? Absolutely. What time should I tell building security to expect you? 9 o'clock. And Jennifer? This stays between us. I don't want word getting out about my location. Of course, Mr. Blake. I'll handle everything discreetly. Harrison ended the call and looked at Nicole and Catherine. Now what? Now we watch, Nicole said. If Jennifer contacts the conspirators, they'll move against Blake Industries tonight. We'll be ready for them. Catherine pulled up building schematics on her laptop. Blake Industries has excellent security, but if someone's been planning this assassination for months, they'll have identified weaknesses. Nicole studied the building layout. 30 floors, multiple entry points, parking garage access, rooftop helicopter pad. Too many variables to secure completely, but they could establish defensive positions. We're not actually going there, Harrison said, realizing their plan. Absolutely not, Nicole replied. We're going to watch from a safe distance and see who shows up. If Jennifer's clean, nobody comes. If she's compromised, we'll have our proof. What if they realize it's a trap? Then they'll know we're onto them, and they'll accelerate their timeline, Catherine said. Either way, we force them into the open. Nicole felt her phone vibrate with a text message. Unknown number, but the content made her blood freeze. Stop protecting him or join him in death. Final warning. She showed the message to Harrison and Catherine. The threat was clear and immediate. They know you're his security now, Catherine said. Your cover's blown. Which means they're desperate, Nicole replied. Desperate people make mistakes. Harrison looked between them, seeing the calculation in their eyes. You're both talking like this is war. It is war, Nicole said simply. Corporate assassination, compromised employees, murdered witnesses. These people are fighting for something worth billions of dollars. That makes it war. What could be worth this much killing? Catherine pulled up Harrison's business files on her laptop. Your company's government contracts. Blake Industries provides cybersecurity for military installations, intelligence agencies, and critical infrastructure. Someone wants access to those systems. Nicole studied the contract details. Foreign intelligence? Corporate espionage? Could be either. Or both. Catherine highlighted specific contracts. If someone gained control of Blake Industries, they'd have backdoor access to Pentagon communications, NSA data centers, and power grid management systems. The scope of the conspiracy became clear. This wasn't just about killing Harrison Blake. It was about seizing control of critical national security infrastructure through his company. Who benefits from that kind of access? Harrison asked. Enemy governments, terrorist organizations, corporate competitors with government contracts. Nicole thought through the possibilities. But the immediate benefit goes to whoever's positioned to acquire your company after your death. My will leaves everything to a charitable foundation. Wills can be contested. Foundations can be influenced. If the right people are positioned as trustees or advisors. Catherine trailed off, seeing the implications. Nicole's phone rang. Detective Kelly's number appeared on the screen. Detective Kelly. What do you have? We just got a call about suspicious activity at Blake Industries. Security reported seeing people on floors that should be empty. Multiple individuals with electronic equipment. Nicole's heart rate spiked. When? 20 minutes ago. They're mobilizing now, assuming Harrison Blake is in the building. He's not there, Nicole said quickly. It was a test. We're trying to identify compromised personnel. Smart. But you need to know something else. We ran background checks on the restaurant staff after Marcus Williams named Danny Reeves as the intermediary. What did you find? Danny Reeves has gambling debts totaling $400,000. Vanessa Cross owns significant shares in Morrison Securities, a direct competitor to Blake Industries. And Trevor Manning's hedge fund has been shorting Blake Industries stock for 6 months. The pieces fell into place with devastating clarity. The conspiracy wasn't just about assassination. It was about financial manipulation, corporate takeover, and massive profit from Harrison's death. Detective, we need protection. These people are escalating. Where are you? Nicole looked at Harrison and Catherine, realizing they'd reached a critical decision point. Trust the police completely, or maintain operational security while the conspiracy unraveled. Safe house in Brookline. But detective, this goes deeper than restaurant robbery. We're talking about national security implications. I'm sending backup to your location. Federal agents may need to take over this investigation. As Nicole ended the call, her phone immediately rang again. This time, the caller ID showed Jennifer Kim. Harrison looked at the phone with growing dread. She's calling back. That can't be good. Nicole answered the call, putting it on speaker so they could all hear. Ms. Carter? This is Jennifer Kim, Mr. Blake's assistant. I need to speak with him urgently. Mr. Blake is in a meeting. Can I take a message? Tell him the Morrison acquisition files have been compromised. Someone accessed his personal computer remotely. They downloaded everything. Nicole exchanged glances with Harrison and Catherine. Either Jennifer was warning them about a security breach, or she was covering for her own involvement in providing access to the conspirators. When did this happen? Within the last hour. Our IT department detected the intrusion and traced it back to his personal system. Jennifer, where are you right now? At the office. I came in to secure the files after Mr. Blake called. Nicole felt alarm bells ringing. If Jennifer was innocent, she was in serious danger. If she was guilty, she was setting up an ambush. Jennifer, listen carefully. Leave the building immediately. Do not use the elevators. Take the stairs and exit through the parking garage. There may be hostile individuals in the building. Hostile individuals? What do you mean? People who want to hurt Mr. Blake. If you're in that building, you're in danger. The line went quiet for several seconds. When Jennifer spoke again, her voice carried new tension. Ms. Carter, I think I see them. There are men in the hallway with equipment. They're not building security. Get out now, Jennifer. We're sending help. The call ended abruptly. Harrison stared at the phone, his face pale with concern. If she's innocent, she could be killed, he said. If she's guilty, this could be an elaborate performance, Catherine replied. Nicole made her decision. We treat her as innocent until proven otherwise. Call Detective Kelly. Tell her to send units to Blake Industries immediately. As Catherine made the call, Nicole felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Jennifer Kim's life hung in the balance, along with Harrison's safety and the broader conspiracy investigation. Do you think Jennifer is innocent or part of the conspiracy? And what do you think Nicole will do next to protect everyone? Drop your predictions in the comments and don't forget to like if you're on the edge of your seat. The game was accelerating, and Nicole realized they were running out of time to stay ahead of their enemies. The SWAT team's radio chatter filled the safe house as Detective Kelly coordinated the response to Blake Industries. Nicole Carter listened to the reports with growing dread. No sign of Jennifer Kim. No sign of the intruders. The building appeared empty, but something felt wrong. Units are sweeping floor by floor, Kelly's voice crackled through the radio. So far, nothing. Harrison Blake paced behind the couch, his anxiety visible in every movement. Jennifer's been with me for 3 years. If something happens to her because of this conspiracy... Don't go there, Nicole said firmly. We don't know what's really happening yet. Catherine Walsh looked up from her laptop, her expression troubled. I've been analyzing the financial data Detective Kelly provided. The pattern is more sophisticated than simple stock manipulation. What do you mean? Nicole asked. Trevor Manning's hedge fund hasn't just been shorting Blake Industries stock. They've been coordinating with offshore accounts to create artificial market pressure. Someone's been planning a hostile takeover for months. Nicole felt pieces clicking into place. Murder Harrison, tank the stock price, then swoop in with a buyout offer? Exactly. But here's what's interesting. Catherine turned her laptop screen toward them. The offshore accounts trace back to shell companies in the Cayman Islands. The same shell companies that received payments from Morrison Securities. Vanessa Cross's company, Harrison said grimly. It gets worse. Morrison Securities has been positioning themselves to acquire Blake Industries government contracts if the company fails. They've already submitted preliminary bids with federal agencies. Nicole realized the conspiracy was even larger than assassination and corporate takeover. They're not just stealing your company. They're stealing national security contracts worth billions of dollars. Detective Kelly's voice cut through their conversation. We found Jennifer Kim. Harrison grabbed the radio. Is she all right? She's alive, but unconscious. Looks like she was drugged. We're calling an ambulance. Relief flooded Harrison's face, but Nicole remained suspicious. Jennifer's condition raised more questions than it answered. Detective, where exactly did you find her? Executive floor, in Harrison's office. She was slumped over his desk with a laptop open. Nicole's training kicked in. What was on the laptop? Financial files. Bank account information. Looks like she was trying to transfer money when she was attacked. The news hit Harrison like a physical blow. She was stealing from me? We don't know that yet, Kelly replied. Could have been forced to access the accounts. Could have been trying to prevent someone else from stealing. We won't know until she regains consciousness. Nicole felt the foundation of trust cracking beneath them. If Jennifer Kim was part of the conspiracy, Harrison's inner circle was completely compromised. If she was innocent, the conspirators had escalated to kidnapping and assault. Detective, I need you to test Jennifer's blood for drugs immediately. If she was forced to access those accounts, there will be evidence. Already ordered. Results in 2 hours. Catherine's phone rang. She answered with her typical efficiency, but her expression changed as she listened. When she ended the call, her face was pale. That was my contact at the FBI. They've been monitoring communications related to Blake Industries for 6 weeks. Monitoring how? Nicole asked. Someone filed a suspicious activity report claiming Harrison was involved in money laundering and terrorist financing. The Bureau's been investigating his finances and business relationships. Harrison stared at Catherine in shock. That's impossible. My company works with the government, not against it. Someone's been feeding false intelligence to federal agencies, Catherine continued. Banking records, communication intercepts, witness statements. All designed to make Harrison look like a national security threat. Nicole realized the full scope of the conspiracy. They're not just planning to kill you. They're destroying your reputation first. Making sure that when you die, nobody investigates too closely. Who would have access to file those kinds of reports? Harrison asked. Law enforcement. Intelligence agencies. Federal contractors with security clearances. Catherine paused, connecting dots. Or private security firms with government connections. Nicole's blood went cold. Catherine, what company did you work for before joining Harrison's security team? Manning Security Solutions. Trevor Manning's private military company. The revelation hit like a bomb. Catherine Walsh, Harrison's trusted head of security, had previously worked for Trevor Manning, one of the main conspirators in the assassination plot. Nicole's hand moved instinctively toward her concealed weapon. Catherine noticed the movement and raised her hand slowly. "Nicole, I know how this looks, but I left Manning's company 2 years ago because I discovered they were involved in illegal surveillance operations." "Illegal how?" Nicole's voice carried deadly calm. "Corporate espionage. Blackmail. They were using federal contracts as cover for private intelligence gathering." Catherine's voice remained steady, but her eyes showed fear. "When I tried to report it, they threatened my pension and my family." Harrison looked between them, realizing his safety depended on Nicole's judgment of Catherine's truthfulness. "Nicole, what do you think?" Nicole studied Catherine's face, reading micro-expressions and body language for deception. Military training had taught her to spot lies under pressure, and Catherine's distress appeared genuine. "Catherine, if you're telling the truth, why didn't you mention your connection to Trevor Manning earlier?" "Because I knew you'd react exactly like this. Because I've spent 2 years trying to forget my involvement with that company." Catherine's voice cracked slightly. "Because I was ashamed of what I'd been part of before I understood their real agenda." Nicole made her decision. Catherine's emotional response felt authentic, and her information about the conspiracy had been accurate so far. But trust would require verification. "Catherine, I need you to prove your loyalty. Right now." "How?" "Call Trevor Manning. Tell him you've been monitoring Harrison's security arrangements for him. Tell him Harrison will be at the Brookline safe house tonight." "You want me to set up an ambush?" "I want you to prove which side you're really on." Catherine stared at Nicole for long seconds, understanding the test. If she was loyal to Harrison, she'd make the call and help them trap the conspirators. If she was loyal to Trevor, she'd refuse or find an excuse to avoid the call. "Give me your phone," Catherine said finally. Nicole handed over her phone, watching Catherine's hands for any sign of deception. Catherine dialed Trevor's number from memory, putting the call on speaker. "Trevor Manning." "Trevor, it's Catherine Walsh. I need to update you on Blake's situation." "Catherine, I thought you'd cut ties with our organization." "I did. But circumstances change when the money's right." Nicole watched Catherine's face carefully. The conversation felt scripted, but Catherine's nervousness appeared genuine. "What's Blake's current status?" Trevor asked. "He's at a safe house in Brookline. 47, Elm Street. Small house, minimal security. He'll be there until tomorrow morning." "Excellent. And his new security consultant?" "Nicole Carter. Former Special Forces, but she's overconfident. Thinks her military training makes her invincible." Nicole fought the urge to react to the insult. Catherine was playing her role convincingly. "Good work, Catherine. Your compensation will be transferred tonight." "How much compensation?" Catherine asked. $2 million. As discussed. The call ended, and Catherine looked at Nicole with exhausted relief. "There's your proof. I just betrayed every principle I have left." Nicole studied Catherine's face, seeing genuine anguish at her performance. "You did good. But now we have a problem." "What problem?" "Trevor's going to send a team to that address. When they realize it's a trap, they'll know we're onto them." Harrison looked between them, understanding dawning. "We're forcing their hand." "Exactly. They'll have to move against us tonight, before we can expose the full conspiracy." Nicole pulled out her phone to call Detective Kelly. "We need backup at the real safe house, and we need it now." But before she could dial, Catherine's laptop chimed with an incoming message. The screen displayed a single line of text. "We have Jennifer Kim. Trade Blake for the girl. 1 hour. Details to follow." The room went silent. The conspirators had escalated to kidnapping, using Jennifer as leverage to force Harrison into the open. "They're lying," Nicole said immediately. "Jennifer's in police custody." Catherine was already typing on her laptop. "No, she's not." Her face went pale as she read medical reports. Jennifer Kim was released from the hospital 30 minutes ago. Signed herself out against medical advice. Released to who? Her emergency contact. Her brother, David Kim. Nicole felt ice in her veins. Catherine, does Jennifer have a brother? Catherine scrolled through personnel files. No. She's an only child. Her emergency contact should be her mother in California. The truth hit them like cold water. The conspirators had Jennifer Kim, and they were using her as bait to draw Harrison into a trap. Harrison started toward the door. We have to save her. No. Nicole blocked his path. That's exactly what they want. You walk into their trap, they kill you both. I can't let an innocent person die because of me. And I can't let you commit suicide because of misplaced guilt. Nicole's voice carried military authority. Jennifer chose to go back to that building. She chose to access your files. We don't know if she's innocent or guilty, but we know this is a trap. Harrison's phone buzzed with a text message. An address in South Boston. An abandoned warehouse. Classic ambush location. 1 hour, Harrison read aloud. Come alone or she dies. Nicole grabbed his phone and smashed it against the wall. You're not going. Nicole. Harrison, listen to me. If you go to that warehouse, you die. If you don't go, Jennifer might die. But if you're dead, I can't protect you from the next attack, or the one after that. Catherine looked up from her laptop with new information. There's something else. I just accessed Jennifer's recent communications. She's been in contact with Danny Reeves for 3 weeks. The betrayal cut deep. Jennifer Kim, Harrison's trusted assistant, had been feeding information to the conspiracy from the beginning. Her kidnapping was either genuine punishment for getting caught, or an elaborate performance to draw Harrison into the open. She was part of it, Harrison said quietly. The whole time. Maybe. Or maybe they forced her cooperation, and now they're cleaning up loose ends. Nicole felt the weight of impossible choices. Either way, walking into their trap won't save her. Harrison slumped into a chair, the reality of complete betrayal settling over him. His restaurant manager, his assistant, potentially his head of security, all working against him. His trust had been weaponized and used to plan his murder. Who can I trust? He asked quietly. Nicole looked at him with genuine compassion. Right now. Me. That's it. The words hung between them like a lifeline and a burden. Nicole Carter, the woman he'd known for less than 24 hours, was the only person standing between him and death. Catherine's laptop chimed again. Another message. 30 minutes. Last chance. Nicole made her decision. Catherine, call Detective Kelly. Tell her we need federal backup at the warehouse address. Full tactical response. What are you planning? I'm planning to end this tonight. All of it. Nicole pulled out her backup phone and began typing a message to the conspirators. Change of plans. Blake will meet you, but not at the warehouse. Neutral location. Public place. His terms. Nicole, what are you doing? I'm going to give them exactly what they want. Harrison Blake. Delivered personally. Harrison stared at her in shock. You said you wouldn't let me walk into a trap. I won't, but I will walk into one myself. Nicole's plan was forming rapidly. Dangerous. Risky. Potentially fatal. But it was the only way to protect Harrison and expose the full conspiracy simultaneously. Nicole, that's suicide. She looked at him with calm determination. No. That's war. The Prudential Center's food court sat mostly empty at this late hour. Scattered security guards and cleaning crews the only movement under harsh fluorescent lighting. Nicole Carter chose this location deliberately. Public enough to discourage immediate violence, but isolated enough for a controlled confrontation. She sat alone at a corner table, wearing civilian clothes instead of tactical gear. To any observer, she looked like a young woman waiting for a late friend. But beneath her red peacoat, Nicole carried enough weaponry to level a city block. Her earpiece crackled with Catherine Walsh's voice from the surveillance van parked outside. Federal agents are in position. Detective Kelly has units covering all exits. You sure about this plan? No, Nicole replied quietly. But it's the only one that gets Harrison out alive. 3 blocks away, Harrison Blake paced the secure hotel room where Catherine had relocated him. Every instinct screamed against letting Nicole face the conspiracy alone, but he understood her logic. If the meeting went wrong, his death would accomplish nothing. If it went right, his survival would justify the risk. Nicole checked her watch. 11:20 p.m. The conspirators were late, which meant they were either being cautious or setting up their own ambush. Her money was on the ambush. Movement at the east entrance, Catherine's voice reported. 3 individuals. Trevor Manning, Vanessa Cross, and an unidentified male. Nicole tensed. She'd expected hired killers or corrupt police. She hadn't expected the conspirators to show up personally. Trevor Manning walked into the food court like he owned it, his expensive suit immaculate despite the late hour. Vanessa Cross flanked him, her designer dress and diamond jewelry completely out of place in the casual environment. The third man wore tactical clothing and moved with military precision. Ms. Carter. Trevor approached her table with a cold smile. Thank you for being reasonable about this situation. Where's Jennifer Kim? Nicole asked. Safe. For now. Vanessa took a seat across from Nicole, her voice carrying aristocratic disdain. Her continued health depends on your cooperation. Nicole studied the third man, recognizing professional training in his posture and awareness. Who's your friend? Someone who understands the importance of completing missions, Trevor replied, sitting down beside Vanessa. Unlike you, he follows orders without developing inconvenient moral attachments. The tactical man remained standing, positioning himself where he could observe the entire food court. Nicole noted his hand resting near a concealed weapon. Let's skip the pleasantries, Nicole said. What do you want? Harrison Blake. Delivered to us. Tonight. Trevor's smile widened. In exchange, Jennifer Kim lives, and you receive $10 million to disappear permanently. And if I refuse? Jennifer dies. You die. Blake dies anyway when we implement our backup plan. Vanessa leaned forward. This way, at least one innocent person survives. Nicole processed the offer carefully. $10 million would set her up for life, but it would also make her complicit in murder. More importantly, it assumed she valued her own life more than doing what was right. Backup plan? Nicole asked. A car bomb in Blake's hotel parking garage. The tactical man spoke for the first time, his voice carrying no emotion. Much messier than a clean assassination, but equally effective. Nicole felt ice in her veins. These people had contingencies for their contingencies. Even if she refused their offer, Harrison remained in danger. Why do you need Blake dead so badly? His company's worth more alive. Trevor and Vanessa exchanged glances, weighing how much to reveal. Blake Industries holds contracts that should belong to more patriotic organizations, Trevor said finally. Blake's liberal politics and diverse hiring practices make him unsuitable for sensitive national security work. Nicole understood. This wasn't just about money. It was about ideology. Trevor and his associates wanted to control critical infrastructure and exclude people they deemed unworthy. So you murder him and steal his contracts. We replace him with leadership that understands American values, Vanessa corrected. Traditional values. Family values. White values, Nicole said bluntly. The racist implication hung in the air like poison. These people weren't just criminals. They were terrorists, using murder and financial manipulation to advance their political agenda. Call it what you want, Trevor said. The result is the same. Blake dies, his company gets proper leadership, and America becomes more secure. Nicole's earpiece crackled with Catherine's urgent voice. Nicole, we've got problems. Federal agents report movement in the hotel parking garage. Someone's planting explosives. Nicole kept her expression neutral while processing the information. The backup plan was already in motion, regardless of her decision here. I need proof Jennifer's alive, Nicole said. Vanessa pulled out her phone, showing a video of Jennifer Kim tied to a chair in what appeared to be a warehouse. She looked drugged but breathing. Satisfied. Where is she? Somewhere you'll never find her without our cooperation, Trevor replied. Time to choose, Ms. Carter. $10 million and a living friend, or stubborn principles and 2 corpses. Nicole appeared to consider the offer while actually calculating angles and distances. The tactical man stood 12 feet away. Trevor and Vanessa sat within arm's reach. Her concealed weapons could neutralize all 3 before they could react, but that wouldn't save Jennifer or stop the car bomb. There's a third option, Nicole said quietly. Which is? I kill all 3 of you right here, right now, and let the federal agent sort out the rest. The tactical man's hand moved toward his weapon, but Nicole was already moving. Her hand shot across the table, grabbing Trevor's wrist and twisting until she heard bones crack. Her other hand produced a combat knife from beneath her coat, pressing it against Vanessa's throat. Don't, she warned the tactical man, who'd cleared leather but not aimed. I can kill them both before you fire a shot. The food court erupted in motion. Federal agents poured through entrances, weapons drawn. The tactical man dropped his gun and raised his hands. Smart choice, Nicole said, maintaining her grip on Trevor and Vanessa. Detective Kelly approached the table, backup officers securing the scene. Ms. Carter, are you all right? Fine. But they've got Jennifer Kim hostage, and there's a car bomb at Harrison's hotel. Kelly immediately radioed the bomb threat while agents secured the 3 conspirators. Trevor Manning, Vanessa Cross, and their hired killer were finally in custody. Where's Jennifer Kim? Kelly demanded. Trevor smiled despite his broken wrist. You'll never find her in time. Nicole increased pressure on the knife against Vanessa's throat. Want to bet? You won't kill me in front of federal agents, Vanessa said confidently. You're right. But I will make you wish I had. Nicole's voice carried deadly promise. Where is she? Vanessa's confidence cracked as she met Nicole's eyes. She'd underestimated the former Special Forces operator's capacity for controlled violence. Warehouse District. Pier 47. Building C. If she's not there, or if she's dead, I'll find you in whatever prison they send you to, Nicole said quietly. And federal protection won't save you. Kelly dispatched units to the warehouse while bomb squad teams raced to Harrison's hotel. Nicole finally released her prisoners, stepping back as agents applied handcuffs. Ms. Carter, Agent Rodriguez approached her. We need you to come with us for debriefing. Later. I need to check on Harrison first. Nicole's earpiece crackled with Catherine's voice. Bomb squad cleared the device. Harrison's safe. Jennifer Kim is alive and conscious at Pier 47. Relief flooded through Nicole's chest. The immediate crisis was over, but she understood the larger implications. Trevor Manning's conspiracy had tentacles throughout Boston's elite society. Other conspirators remained free, and their ideology wouldn't die with these arrests. Agent Rodriguez, you need to understand something, Nicole said. This conspiracy involves federal contractors, law enforcement personnel, and political figures. The investigation needs to go much deeper than 3 arrests. We're aware. Your friend Marcus Williams provided extensive testimony about the money trail and communication networks. Nicole smiled for the first time in hours. Ghost had kept his promise to help bring down the people who'd killed his brother. Her phone buzzed with a text from Harrison. Safe house secure. Are you all right? Nicole typed back. All clear. Coming to you. As federal agents processed the crime scene, Nicole walked toward the exit. 24 hours ago, she'd been an unemployed waitress facing an uncertain future. Now she was a key witness in a federal terrorism investigation and the head of security for a major corporation. But more importantly, she discovered something she thought she'd lost forever. The ability to trust someone completely. Harrison Blake had shown her respect when others showed fear. He'd offered her opportunity when others offered discrimination. He'd proven that love could manifest as recognition, acceptance, and mutual protection. The Prudential Center's parking garage felt different as Nicole walked to her car. Boston's skyline stretched before her, no longer representing a city where she had to hide her capabilities. Tonight had proven she belonged here, not as an invisible server, but as a protector of the innocent and a guardian of justice. Her phone rang. Harrison's voice carried relief and something deeper. "Nicole, thank God you're safe. I told you I'd handle it. You did more than handle it. You saved my life. You saved Jennifer's life. You probably saved other lives we'll never know about." Nicole felt something warm spreading through her chest. Acceptance. Appreciation. The kind of respect she'd never received from the people she'd served at Lumiere. "It's what I do," she said simply. "It's who you are," Harrison corrected. "And I'm grateful every day is going to start and end with you protecting what matters most." The words carried weight beyond professional appreciation. Nicole heard genuine affection, the foundation of something that could grow into love if they both chose to nurture it. Harrison. "Yeah. See you soon." As Nicole drove through Boston's late-night streets, she realized she was no longer running from her past or hiding from her capabilities. For the first time since leaving the military, she was moving toward something instead of away from it. Toward a future where her strength was valued instead of feared. Toward a partnership built on mutual respect instead of hierarchy. Toward love that recognized her complete humanity instead of demanding she diminish herself. The city lights blurred past her windows as Nicole Carter drove toward her new life, finally understanding that sometimes the most dangerous choice was also the most necessary one. The Blake Industries Christmas party filled the renovated waterfront ballroom with warm light and genuine laughter. Nicole Carter stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston Harbor, watching employees celebrate a year that had ended far differently than anyone expected. 5 weeks had passed since the conspiracy's collapse. Trevor Manning, Vanessa Cross, and their network faced federal terrorism charges. Danny Reeves cooperated fully with prosecutors in exchange for a reduced sentence. Jennifer Kim recovered physically, but chose to relocate to California and start fresh away from the trauma. "You look thoughtful," Harrison Blake approached, carrying 2 glasses of champagne. His Navy suit was perfectly tailored, but he wore it with less formality than before. Success felt different when you'd survived assassination attempts. "Just processing how much has changed," Nicole replied, accepting the champagne. Her emerald green dress was elegant but practical, allowing full range of movement if threats materialized. Old habits died hard. "Good changes." Nicole smiled, looking around the room. "Definitely good changes." The party guests represented Harrison's commitment to the values that had made him a target. Diverse employees, progressive partners, immigrant entrepreneurs whose companies Blake Industries had invested in despite political pressure. The conspiracy had failed not just tactically, but ideologically. "Ms. Carter." Dr. Amanda Foster approached with a warm smile. The elderly woman who'd criticized Nicole at Lumiere now served on Blake Industries' Community Advisory Board. "I wanted to thank you again for your patience with an old fool. Dr. Foster, you don't need to keep apologizing." "Yes, I do. I let fear override my judgment that night. You saved lives, and I called you a vigilante." Dr. Foster's voice carried genuine remorse. "It took courage to forgive my ignorance." Nicole had struggled with forgiveness initially. The memory of being blamed for saving lives still stung. But Harrison had helped her understand that changing minds required demonstrating grace under pressure, not holding grudges. "People can grow," Nicole said simply. "We all make mistakes when we're scared." Dr. Foster nodded gratefully and rejoined the party. Harrison watched the interaction with obvious pride. "That's the 3rd apology you've received tonight," he said. "People are processing trauma differently. Some need to make amends. And some need to be gracious enough to accept them." Nicole looked at Harrison more carefully. 5 weeks of working together had deepened their partnership beyond professional necessity. She'd learned his habits, his fears, his dry sense of humor. He'd learned to trust her judgment completely, even when it meant accepting risks he couldn't control. "Harrison, can I ask you something personal?" "Always." "What happens when the federal investigation ends? When the threats are neutralized and you don't need protection anymore?" Harrison set down his champagne, giving her his full attention. "Is that what you think this is? Temporary employment until the danger passes. Isn't it? Nicole, do you remember what I said about never meeting anyone who could handle the reality of my life? Yes. I was wrong. I'd never met anyone who could handle it and also make it better. Harrison's voice carried quiet intensity. You don't just protect me from threats. You help me be a better person. You challenge my assumptions. You make me laugh when everything feels overwhelming. Nicole felt her heart rate increase. They were approaching territory she'd been avoiding for weeks. Professional partnerships were safe. Personal relationships were complicated. Harrison. I'm in love with you, he said simply. Not because you saved my life, though I'm grateful. Not because you're beautiful, though you are. I'm in love with you because you see the world the way it should be and you fight to make it that way. The words hit Nicole like warm sunlight after years of cold. She'd been loved before, but never for her strength. Never for her principles. Never for the qualities that made her dangerous and protective and uncompromising. I love you too, she said quietly. But I need you to understand what that means. Tell me. It means I'll always be someone who runs toward danger instead of away from it. It means I'll never be content to stand on the sidelines when people need help. It means sometimes my judgment will put us both at risk. Harrison smiled. It means I'll never be bored. It means I'll never have to wonder if you're with me for the right reasons. It means I'll never have to protect you because you're perfectly capable of protecting yourself. Are you sure about this? Really sure. Nicole, 6 weeks ago I thought love meant finding someone who needed me. Now I understand love means finding someone who chooses me. Harrison stepped closer. You don't need me for anything. But you choose to be here anyway. Nicole felt tears threatening. She'd spent 8 years believing her capabilities made her unsuitable for normal relationships. Harrison saw those same capabilities as the foundation for an extraordinary partnership. There's something else, she said. The federal prosecutor offered me a position with their Joint Terrorism Task Force. Full federal authority, significant pay increase, opportunities to work major cases. Harrison's expression didn't change, but she caught the slight tightening around his eyes. That's an incredible opportunity. I turned it down. Why? Because I realized something important during this investigation. I don't want to chase terrorists around the country. I don't want to be away from home for months at a time. I want to build something here, with you. Harrison's smile could have powered the entire building. Are you saying you want to stay? I'm saying I want to expand. Blake Industries needs a comprehensive security division. Corporate protection, employee safety, facility security, threat assessment. Nicole's voice gained confidence as she outlined her vision. I want to build something that protects good people and good companies from the kind of conspiracy we just survived. A security division with you in charge? A security division with me in charge, Catherine as operations manager, and Ghost Williams as community liaison once he completes his cooperation agreement. Harrison laughed at the audacity of hiring a former armed robber as a company representative. Ghost Williams? Community liaison. He knows every criminal network in New England. He understands how street crime connects to corporate corruption. And he's motivated to prevent other neighborhoods from losing good people like Jerome. What did the prosecutor say about that arrangement? That it was unconventional but not illegal. Ghost's testimony was crucial to breaking up Trevor's network. Early release with community service requirements actually serves justice better than long-term incarceration. Nicole watched Harrison process her proposal. She was asking him to take significant risks, hiring former criminals, expanding into security services, trusting her judgment about personnel and operations. How soon can we start? He asked. Nicole's heart soared. After New Year's. Catherine's already identified 12 potential clients, and Ghost knows 47 people who need legitimate employment opportunities. 47. People from the neighborhood who want out of criminal life but need someone to take a chance on them. Former addicts, ex-gang members, people with records who've changed their lives. Nicole paused. People like me, who just needed someone to see their potential instead of their past. Harrison understood. Nicole wasn't just proposing a business expansion. She was proposing a mission to transform lives the way hers had been transformed. "What about us?" he asked. "How do we navigate a romantic relationship and a business partnership?" "Very carefully. Clear boundaries. Professional standards. No special treatment because we're involved." "Agreed. Though I reserve the right to flirt shamelessly during non-business hours." Nicole laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. "I think I can live with that." The band began playing a slow song, and couples moved onto the dance floor. Harrison extended his hand. "Ms. Carter, may I have this dance?" "I should mention I'm armed," Nicole said, taking his hand. "I'd be disappointed if you weren't." They moved onto the dance floor together, and Nicole realized this was the moment she'd been avoiding for weeks. Not the professional partnership. Not the crisis management. Not even the declaration of love. This moment of simple, normal happiness with someone who accepted every part of who she was. As they danced, Nicole caught sight of their reflection in the harbor-facing windows. A successful businessman and a former special forces operator, moving together with surprising grace. To outside observers, they looked like any other couple at a company party. But Nicole knew better. They were two people who'd found love in the middle of chaos. Two people who'd chosen each other despite easier alternatives. Two people who'd built trust through crisis and emerged stronger on the other side. "Nicole." Harrison's voice was soft against her ear. "Thank you." "For what?" "For showing me what real strength looks like. For protecting me when I needed protection. For staying when you could have left." Nicole pulled back slightly to meet his eyes. "Thank you for seeing me. Really seeing me, not just what I could do for you. Always." The song ended, but they remained close, reluctant to break the moment. Around them, the party continued with holiday music and laughter. Blake Industries employees celebrated not just the season, but survival and renewal. "Ready for the next adventure?" Harrison asked. "With you. Bring it on." Nicole Carter had started this year as a waitress hiding from her past. She was ending it as a woman who'd found her purpose, her partner, and her place in the world. Not because she'd changed who she was, but because she'd finally found someone who loved her for exactly who she'd always been. Love had conquered prejudice. Recognition had conquered dismissal. Truth had conquered conspiracy. And Nicole Carter, former Special Forces operator, former invisible waitress, current head of security and future partner in all things, had finally come home. As Boston's winter lights sparkled across the harbor, Nicole smiled at the man who'd changed everything by simply offering her the respect she'd always deserved. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, new opportunities to protect and serve. Tonight was for dancing, for champagne, for celebrating the kind of love that made everything else possible. Tonight was for new beginnings. 6 months later, the federal courthouse steps bustled with reporters and camera crews as Nicole Carter emerged from the final sentencing hearing. Trevor Manning had received 25 years for terrorism and conspiracy charges. Vanessa Cross got 20 years. Danny Reeves, in exchange for his full cooperation, received 8 years with possibility of parole in 5. "Ms. Carter." A reporter thrust a microphone toward her. "How does it feel to see justice served?" "It feels like closure," Nicole replied, her navy blazer crisp in the summer sun. "But the real victory is the lives that were saved and the network that was dismantled." Detective Patricia Kelly appeared beside her, now promoted to lieutenant after her role in breaking the conspiracy. The federal task force identified 37 additional conspirators across 6 states, all facing charges thanks to the evidence chain that started with Ms. Carter's actions. Nicole nodded with satisfaction. The broader network Trevor had built was completely destroyed, ensuring no similar plots could emerge from the same source. "What about Marcus Williams?" another reporter called out. Mr. Williams completed his cooperation agreement and is now employed as Community Outreach Director for Blake Industries Security Division, Nicole announced. He's helped place 63 former offenders in legitimate employment over the past 6 months. The reporters scribbled notes eagerly. Ghost Williams' transformation from armed robber to community advocate had become a symbol of successful rehabilitation programs. Any word on Jennifer Kim's status? Lieutenant Kelly answered this one. Ms. Kim's cooperation was crucial to prosecuting the conspiracy. Her infiltration of Mr. Blake's organization was accomplished through identity theft and sophisticated social engineering. She received immunity in exchange for testimony and has successfully completed a federal witness protection relocation program. Nicole felt closure on Jennifer's story. The young woman had been coerced into the conspiracy through threats against her family in South Korea. Her betrayal was real, but motivated by terror rather than greed. Ms. Carter, how has Blake Industries' security division performed? Nicole smiled genuinely. We've protected 12 major corporations from infiltration attempts, prevented 4 assassination plots against public figures, and provided security consulting for over 200 small businesses. Our community employment program has a 91% success rate. The numbers represented more than business success. They represented lives changed, communities strengthened, and a new model for corporate responsibility. Any comment on your engagement to Harrison Blake? Nicole held up her left hand, showing the elegant but practical engagement ring Harrison had proposed with 3 months earlier. Mr. Blake and I are planning an October wedding. The ceremony will include security details, obviously. Laughter rippled through the press crowd. Nicole Carter's dry humor had become legendary among Boston media. As the reporters dispersed, Nicole walked to the black SUV where Harrison waited with Catherine Walsh, now Deputy Director of Operations for Blake Industries Security. How did it feel watching Trevor get sentenced? Harrison asked as they drove away. Like watching cancer get removed, Nicole replied. Necessary, but I'm more interested in what we build going forward. Catherine turned from the front passenger seat. Speaking of building, the Portland office opens next month. We have contracts lined up in Seattle, Denver, and Miami. Nicole nodded with satisfaction. Blake Industries Security had grown beyond their wildest projections, driven by demand for ethical corporate protection and community employment programs. Any word from Lumiere? Harrison asked with a slight smile. Nicole laughed. They offered me my old job back. With a raise. Please tell me you said no. I told them I was a little overqualified for waitressing these days. The SUV pulled up to Blake Industries headquarters, where Ghost Williams waited on the sidewalk with a group of young people in business casual attire. New recruit orientation? Nicole asked as they approached. 15 former gang members starting their security training program, Ghost replied with obvious pride. Including 3 women who remind me of someone I used to know. Nicole studied the group of young faces, seeing determination mixed with nervousness. 6 months ago, these kids had been selling drugs or stealing cars. Today, they were beginning careers in corporate security. Any of them from Roxbury? She asked. 8 of them. Word gets around when someone makes it out and comes back to help. Nicole felt warmth spreading through her chest. The girl who'd saved Jerome Williams in an alley was now providing opportunities for an entire generation to escape the same cycle. Ms. Carter. One of the young women approached hesitantly. I just wanted to say thank you. For proving it was possible. What's your name? Destiny Johnson. I heard about what you did, how you went from the neighborhood to this. She gestured at the corporate headquarters. It made me think maybe I could do something different too. Nicole saw herself in Destiny's eyes. The hunger for something better. The determination to overcome circumstances. The strength hiding beneath uncertainty. You can do anything you set your mind to, Nicole said simply. The only requirement is refusing to give up. As the orientation group headed inside, Harrison took Nicole's hand. Ready for the final piece of good news? There's more. Dr. Foster's Community Foundation approved our grant proposal. Full funding for the Youth Mentorship Program. Nicole felt tears threatening. Dr. Foster, the woman who'd called her a vigilante during the restaurant robbery, was now funding programs to help at-risk youth develop their potential instead of hiding from it. How much funding? $5 million over 3 years. Enough to expand to 10 cities. Nicole understood the scope of what they'd built. What had started as one woman's fight for survival had become a movement to transform how society viewed people with difficult pasts. Harrison. Yeah. I love our life. Even the death threats and corporate espionage? Especially those parts. They keep things interesting. Harrison laughed, pulling her closer as they walked into their building. Ready for the next adventure? With you. Always. Nicole Carter looked up at the Blake Industries logo above the entrance, remembering the invisible waitress who'd walked into Lumiere 6 months ago expecting another night of humiliation and minimum wage. That woman could never have imagined this life. Respected, loved, successful, and surrounded by people who valued her strength instead of fearing it. The past was settled. The future was unlimited. And Nicole Carter, former Special Forces operator, former invisible waitress, current head of security and future wife, had finally found her place in a world that celebrated her exactly as she was. Love had conquered prejudice. Recognition had conquered dismissal. Truth had conquered conspiracy. And sometimes, the most dangerous woman in the room was exactly what everyone needed to keep them safe. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of this incredible journey. If this story touched your heart, wait until you see what's coming next. It's even more powerful and inspiring than you can imagine. So don't go anywhere. Click on that video showing on your screen right now to dive into another amazing story that will absolutely blow your mind. Trust me, you won't regret it.